Hi, everyone. Very exciting session planned for today. We have some of the leading industry experts from a knowledge perspective available to discuss some very interesting topics. So I appreciate all of your time, your willingness to participate on the panel. Let's go ahead and jump right in.
You have kind of three different paths that the states have taken. You know, they've come out and from a statute or reg standpoint, they've said biodiesel is a special fuel. So you have very clear guidance on how to treat that. Or they've come out from a policy standpoint. Maybe they've issued a notice. Maybe they have something on their website. You know, website isn't something you can take to court. You can certainly see what they're thinking, but it's something. It's some form of guidance. And then you have kind of the last group of states, and I think it's what Leonard is seeing on the CNG side, where the states are not giving guidance. New Mexico is a great example. There was a taxpayer that basically pursued through the legislature a change in the definition of biodiesel and special fuel to basically get some resolution to how biodiesel should be treated in New Mexico. That just came out in the last 2 to 3 weeks. So even though biodiesel, really as a matter of the federal credit has seen, it's distinct, and you've seen an increase in that in the marketplace and in what we're seeing, both from the federal credit and some of the state mandates. There's a handful of states out there that say you have to have a percentage of biodiesel in all diesel fuel. New Mexico is one of those that's coming. So, it's really important to be on the front end of these changes if you can. As Leonard was saying, to get the treatment that's beneficial to us as taxpayers.
Is states offering a decal program like they do here in California, whereby all of our alternative fuel trucks, they obtain an annual decal, they pay a flat fee, and they then provide the fuel tax vendors with a copy of that decal, and those vendors don't charge the state excise tax. And it almost always comes out in the taxpayer's favor that you're paying a lot less money by paying that annual decal rather than paying the tax on every load of fuel that you get. We would love more and more states to go towards the decals, and initially that's what we thought the trend would be. And now we're battling Florida, who's going the opposite direction. They're realizing that the decals are costing them money, and they're trying to remove them and replace it with a tax. And now we're kind of going back and forth and acknowledging the issue with them, but saying, you know what, keep the decal, but just raise the tax rate to kind of get us back to where we were, because administratively it's a lot easier for us to pay an annual decal fee and be done with it.
Yeah, like in Florida, the decal fee was, let's say, like if you do it on a per truck basis, it's an annual filing. You pay it once a year, you file once a year. In states that have the monthly compliance, there's added compliance costs that go into that. But the way the numbers were working out was like on a per truck basis, an alternative fuel vehicle had paid a tax of around $300 or $400, depending on how much the vehicle weighed. But a diesel-powered truck would pay, on an annual basis, roughly in the neighborhood of $2,700 per year in excise tax. So they use the same roads. We can understand why they're wanting some equilibrium there with the alternative fuels tax not being up where the diesel and gasoline taxes were. But currently there are 15 or so states that have active legislation open right now on dealing with alternative fuels. And with the way that natural gas is, there's such an abundance here, and there's so many benefits for using it as a fuel. There's no storage of it. And it's delivered via pipeline. There's no spill. You don't worry about it spilling, or if it leaks out into the atmosphere, it turns into vapor. And the tanks that they're supplied in or stored in actually go through more rigorous testing than anything that the gasoline or diesel side experiences. I think a cylinder of CNG has to withstand a bonfire test and a test with a 30 caliber bullet where it does not penetrate the tank. And so the history is starting to become developed to where there's fewer fatalities and fewer, explosion-related accidents with alternative fuel vehicles. But the governments are trying to incentivize, there's a lot of incentives out there. I think Florida has one where it's a $25,000 per vehicle, capped at $250,000 a year per company on converting over or buying new alternative fuel trucks. Pennsylvania just put something else similar to it, but it's not as beneficial as Florida. Pennsylvania actually, you get a credit or a rebate based on the differential. How much more is that CNG truck than a diesel truck? They're not that much more. So it's less of a benefit in Pennsylvania. But there are 15 states right now with active legislation on alternative fuels.